everyone, welcome to another installment of this Book Review Wednesday, and as you can see by the title and the thumbnail, we are going to be addressing the big book, Rebecca. It's not called Big Book Rebecca, it's just called Rebecca, but I say that it is a big book because it is a big book. And this is written by Daphne du Marais. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Apologies. I believe it might be French, but regardless, this book I think has retained some kind of fame over the years. I think there's a lot of people who might be familiar with this tale. But it is designed to be as what they call a romantic suspense story, in the sense that it involves elements of romance as well as suspense. Also, I think there is a certain sense of mystery to it as well, so you could probably classify it as such. But I think this story offers a lot of interesting elements within it, so I'm going to kind of go through those here to kind of give you an idea as to my thoughts in regards to the book. There is a lot of little twists and turns here and there, some that even surprised me when I was reading it, and those twists and turns lead to other things, and this is where the book really grabs you, and I think it really did a good job of handling those different plot elements that would end up surfacing from the story as you were reading it. So it was really cleverly done, I thought. And the writer seemed to know what she was doing when she was putting in all of these different things that somehow ended up tying together. And the good thing about this book, and I think I can't emphasize this enough, this story is as much as about plot as characters. And I think a lot of these characters offer something that is fairly in-depth. We are limited in respects to the way in which certain characters think, because this is told mainly through our main protagonist's point of view, and not necessarily anybody else's. So other characters might be limited, but you do get a sense of who these people are and their sort of inner turmoils and things like that. So that's, I think, something that's very important that this book really did a good job of doing. Despite us having some really sort of in-depth as well as sort of good and likable characters, we also have characters that are actually fairly menacing and fairly rude to our main protagonist. I mean, they are unbelievably cruel to her throughout this story, but you'll sort of see how this eventually comes up as you read. But for the most part, it's told within her perspective, so we really do get a sense of her ideas in regards to the characters. So some people might say that's limiting, but on the one hand, I think it also provides very interesting commentary because she is kind of the outsider, and it's nice to see things through sort of an outsider's perspective, because I think there have been a lot of situations that people have run into where they felt like they were the outsider. So basically what this story is about is this main protagonist, who we don't actually know her first name really. We just know her by her married name, which is Miss De Winters, or De Winter, excuse me. Oh, De Winters, yes. And basically, she is the second wife to this man named Maxim De Winters. His previous wife passed away, and it was supposedly drowning, and the circumstances are fairly mysterious too. There's a lot of kind of oddities that come up that sort of kind of ultimately end up sort of revealing what really happened. But right off the beginning, you kind of get a vagueness to it. Like you just know, oh, she drowned out to sea. Um, but basically, she ends up sort of taking uh, this first wife's place. Now, the first wife is called Rebecca, hence the title of the book. Um, and the second wife, who is our narrator, she is having significant problems in trying to fit in within Maxim's circle, because he's supposed to be a really well-off guy. I mean, he's got this really big house and all these different servants and things like that. So, and he's really part of sort of that count. He holds a significant amount of influence throughout the community that he lives in. So there is a lot of social status that he has. And Miss Winters basically kind of goes through that whole shift where she's no longer just some girl. She's now this. She now holds this really sort of, I guess, um, different position because she's now the wife of this really well-known and successful guy. And this kind of, I guess, overwhelms her a bit, and a lot of the people, as I've mentioned before, don't like her because she doesn't fit the same kind of mold that Rebecca, the first wife, had, and she has a very hard time sort of blending in and really kind of identifying with the people that are within Maxim's circle. Although there are people who do actually like her and do sort of support her, there are others who are kind of sort of, I think, a little bit on the judgmental side of her. And some of the cruelties, in particular, that one side character does to her, I think, is just like it's very, it's almost very appalling. But it just shows you the weight in which, kind of social status was, especially, I think, really when the time of this book sort of takes place. Although it's not really mentioned mentioned when this takes place, but I'm assuming since it's technically supposed to be a classic, it's probably, relatively speaking, 50, maybe even more years ago. So again, I think there is that element in there, and you do feel too that not only does she have the weight of the people that are still kind of alive and are part of Maxim's sort of, old circle, and technically part of the circle of Rebecca. She also has to deal with the fact that, Rebecca kind of she's kind of haunted by her, because everybody can not help sort of have that weight on the back of their shoulders, like that past life of Rebecca existing. And I think that really puts a damper on her character, and it's very hard for her to kind of find her place, and she sort of feels haunted by her. And I just want to make it clear out of the gate, this is not a haunted house story. Rebecca doesn't come back from the grave and haunt her, Jenny, that stuff. Although that would have been interesting, I think, had they gone that route. But the book decides not to go that route. It tries to maintain itself in a fairly realistic manner. And as the plot goes on, you kind of see how things become even more complex, and how ultimately the sort of big twists end up making a huge difference as far as the plot is concerned and the characters. So I really don't want to give those elements away because I think those are very critical to the book, and I honestly feel that the way the author handled those circumstances was really, I think, well done. And The writing is, I think, really well constructed. You do feel like there is this sense of Miss De Winters being kind of, caught up in everything. Like she's that outsider. She's the sort of observer, you know, observing this world that Maxim has. And a lot of it takes place uh, within that estate house. I'm trying to think. There's the name, Manderley. Um, and you'll see how Manderley is kind of really emphasized because that's mostly where the story takes place, and it's also where a lot of crucial plot elements end up happening and sort of end up being kind of revealed. Uh, so I cannot not put that in there because I also think too it sort of represents Miss De Winter's kind of new life and new surroundings, and at the same time those surroundings are very haunting and they don't feel as welcome. Um, but overall, I would definitely recommend this book if you enjoy the kind of maybe more old school suspense. It's definitely not something that you would see nowadays, where there's a lot more gruesome elements. This book is very tame as far as any violence is concerned. I mean, there's a little bit of violence, but it's not in any way, shape, or form gory or very. It's not designed to be very horror oriented. It's designed to be just more of that, classic murder mystery type um, approach. So if you enjoy that kind of work, I would definitely recommend this book. However, if you feel like you would want something a little bit more modern and don't gravitate towards these kinds of stories, I'd probably say it's best that you not pick up this book. But I really do like both approaches. I like the new as well as the old, and I think this old approach suits this story really well. Um, so if you're interested, feel free to go to your local library and find it. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say when it comes to this particular book. However, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I would be more than happy to answer them. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video, which I will be posting today as well as Saturday's video, because unfortunately I won't be here on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So you will be getting technically 4 videos from me today. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day, week, month, and year.